party people. At the start of this year, I completed a commission for a framed house front. The client wanted to gift a miniature version of his own house to his grandson, who has autism and has a special interest in his granddad's house, specifically the front door. So I needed to make sure that the details were perfect. I was even asked if I could include a working porch light, which I could. I was so pleased with how this turned out, and my favourite parts were the miniature hanging baskets. So today I wanted to show you how I made them. On with the making! To make a miniature hanging basket, you will need a decorative wooden bead, which I've already sawn in half, a sponge, which you'll be taking chunks out of, some chain. I'm using some from an old necklace, 3 small pins and a jump ring, and a piece of cardboard. The first thing you'll need to do is paint the bead. I'm using brown acrylic paint. This bead has a shiny coating, so my first coat of paint is just a base layer to get the rest of the paint to stick. It can also be useful to hold the bead on a stick using blue tack. This is a kebab skewer, so you don't have to get your fingers over the paint. While the paint is drying, you can start tearing the sponge into little bits. These will make up the plant in the hanging basket. You'll need a mixture of bigger chunks and really tiny pieces. Now you need to glue the sponge to the bead. I'm using PVA glue, and although it pains me to do so, I'm applying it with a paintbrush, which I thoroughly washed afterwards. After putting a generous amount of glue on the bead, I'm going to build up the plant, starting with the smaller pieces of sponge. I'm using the paintbrush to press down the sponge and then add more glue on top. Then I'm adding smaller pieces of sponge on the top and around the edge. It's best to let this dry overnight as there's quite a lot of glue in there. Once the glue is dry, you can paint the plant. I'm starting with a dark green using acrylic paint. You have to poke around in the sponge quite a bit to make sure everything gets covered. Hang on, this would be easier if I was using my stick again. That's better. Then I'm going to go over the top with a lighter yellowier green to add some dimension. For the flowers, I'm just adding blobs of yellow and red paint. To get this pot to hang, you need to add the chain. Take one of the small pins and push it through the end of the chain. Then push it through the sponge. The sponge should be pretty solid now thanks to all that dried glue. Then figure out how long you want the chain to be and cut it. I thought I'd be able to break the links, but I ended up having to cut them with wire cutters. Cut 2 more pieces of chain the same length and attach them with the pins in the same way. Now attach the 3 chain ends to the jump ring and close it up. To make the bracket, which the basket will hang from, I'm using cardboard, but there's probably other materials you can use. I've cut 2 thin strips and this is how I'm going to attach them. This is a basic bracket that's probably not to scale, but it'll do for this example. I'm going to glue this in place and paint it black. And this is what it looks like when it's all dry. I've glued it to an old wall I made on a model making course. Again, it's probably not to scale, but I just wanted to show you what the basket could look like as part of a scene. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and let me know if you make your own miniature hanging basket. Thanks for watching, bye!